Into the semi-finals we go now over in the Club World Cup, and we're left with 4 clubs, 3 European, 1 Brazilian. Who will go through to the final? We're going to take a little look next. That's my first pack once again with another video. Today we take a look at the Club World Cup semi-finals. We've got to the point. It's getting serious now with only 4 clubs left. 3 from one side of the Atlantic, 1 from the other, who of course will make that next step into the final. We'll get into it, all of it in a second. If you're new, where you've been, smash your subscribe. You want some short for Blackburn Rovers, Club World Cup, whoa, football. We're going to all here under one Rooski. That's right, guys and girls. It is cooking with gas right here, right now, over in the Club World Cup with only 4 clubs left. 3 from Europe, 1 from Brazil, of course, and just 2 spots left in that final. Who will make the step in a second? Big shout out to the members and the patrons. You know who you are. So let's get into it then, shall we? Take a look at what we're talking about. We're talking about this, guys. If I can get it onto the screen, it is the Club World Cup and it is the semi-finals. And what went on in the quarterfinals? Well, that's the big question. Well, I'm going to show you with my predictions and, of course, the updated scoreline. So here we go. Of course, my predictions are in the white font there, and the actual scoreline was in the black. So I did go for Palmeiras against Chelsea. I went with them. I thought they would have enough in the tank, and I just didn't believe in Chelsea, but they proved me wrong. Chelsea with a 2-1 win on the night. I went the other way. Meanwhile, I also got the next one wrong because I actually backed Al Hilal to come out with a 3-2 win. But again, got that one wrong as Fluminense, and I'm happy to say that they're there with a 2-1 win over Al Hilal. I actually just wanted one Brazilian side to get through to the semi-finals, or, you know, at least one. It would have been good to have 2, but beggars can't be choosers. Meanwhile, it's the back end of the bracket here. We've got PSG against Bayern. What a game that was. I went with a 3-1 win, but Paris Saint-Germain did beat Bayern 2-win. Of course, Musiala injury was one of the major talking points on that one. And then finally, late last night, Real Madrid did the business over Dortmund in a thriller, 3-2 in the end. All the drama coming towards the back end of the match, but the big boys are there, and that's what we need. We want the big boys in this competition to see who, of course, is going to be the Club World Cup champion. And we're left with 4 clubs, but we're also left with the Club World Cup Prediction League, guys. To make sure you get your predictions in that, we're going to bring you a wrap up with that. But the next time you see me in this sort of stuff, when I say this kind of stuff, it'll be for the final prediction. We'll do the reveal. I know I've not really promoted it as much as I'd wanted to do, but it's been a busy old summer trying to keep up with the amount of games. But anyway, enough complaining about me. These are the games. We're left with the 2 semi-finals, 2, of course, spaces left into that final. Who will make that step up towards the glory as well? Let's get into it and predict the first one. It's going to be Fluminense up against Chelsea. Alrighty then, folks, this match kicks off, of course, at the MetLife Stadium on the 8th of July. That's right, just a couple of days away. Fluminense and Renato Gaucho doing the business at the moment. 83% form for them coming into this, unbeaten in at least the last 6 matches. Taking on a Chelsea side under Enzo Marquesca, just 1 defeat in the last 6. They were also on 83% form for them coming into this after winning 5 of the last 6 in all competitions, all venues, all competitions. But Chelsea does stretch way back into that conference final where they were victorious. Let's take a look though at Fluminense. They're coming into this on the back of their journey so far, which has been pretty stellar. They opened up with a 0-0 draw against fellow quarter-finalist Dortmund. That was, of course, match number 1. They then beat Ulsan HD 4-2 in the group stages before they beat the South Africans, respect. Malawi Sundowns, they drew with them actually 0-0 to make a stealthy kind of progress in the group stage just by just winning the 1 match and drawing the other 2 0-0. Then they took on heavyweights Internazionale Milan and they came out on top with a 2-0 win. That was, of course, a statement result for Fluminense. They then followed that up with a real challenge against Al Hilal, who had all the gear, all the idea, but it just couldn't get the victory. So 2-1 win it was for Fluminense over Al Hilal. Now standing in the way though are Chelsea, and Chelsea have had a colourful journey themselves, scoring a lot of goals. They do look an exciting prospect, and they're a very young, youthful side. And they've also gone on the back of a fresh success, which was that Conference League final against Real Betis. They opened up their Club World Cup campaign though up against Los Angeles FC. They picked up a 2-0 win on that one. They then lost to the first Brazilian opponent, Flamengo, 3-1 there. They bounced back with a 3-0 win over ES Tunis to, of course, make their passageway through to the knockouts. Then they took on Benfica. That was a bit of a tight one before the shackles came off in extra time. 4-1 win in the end. And then, most recently, they took on another Brazilian side. That was Palmeiras. And they came out top with the 2-1 win. So, they played 2 Brazilian sides already. It's been 1 win apiece, of course. And now it's all down to this game, of course. Now, coming out to the odds for this match and this match alone, 70-4 is your Fluminense, 10-7 on is your Chelsea, and 27-10 is your draw. Now, prior to that last match for Fluminense against Al Hilal, they'd only conceded in 1 game. So I do think it's going to be a slow scoring game on this one. Chelsea have had a few goals along the way, but I do think it's going to be a much more, and again, it's Thiago Silva derby if my memory serves me correctly. And again, right now, Chelsea are on a good bit of form right now. I just think Fluminense are going to park the bus here, maybe get an early goal themselves, and I think we might even get dragged into extra time and, of course, even penalties. So I'm going to lean towards the Brazilian outfit here with a 1-1 final score after regulation and extra time and a penalty shootout victory for Fluminense to go through to the final. But who will they take on? Will they take on current Champions League winners PSG or multiple Champions League winners Real Madrid? This was also covered at the MetLife Stadium on the 9th of July. PSG under Luis Enrique coming into this, of course, 83% form for them right now. Just 1 defeat in the last 6. They picked up 5 and won and just lost the 1 in the most recent 6 matches. Of course, all competitions, all venues. Up against Real Madrid, Xabi Alonso, of course, he's straight out the gate here. Took over the reins in the back end of May there. Unbeaten tenure so far, 92% form for them. But of course, life did start with the draw, and we'll elaborate on that in just a second. They played 11 times, these 2 clubs, since 2013. 3 wins PSG, 6 wins Real Madrid. There has been 2 draws. Of those 11, PSG have a 3-0 win on the record. They got 12 goals scored against Real Madrid, picking up a 1.09 goals a game ratio. As for Madrid, coming into this, they also have a 3-1 win themselves over PSG. 14 goals scored in those 11 games, 1.27 goals a game coming into this. Now, the most recent match between these 2 sides was a round of 16 encounter way back in March 2022. Real Madrid coming out on top with a 3-1 win. However, if you spread it out over the last 6, it's quite tight. 3 wins Madrid, 2 wins PSG, and there has been 1 draw. Draws in here don't do much. Of course, it'll drag to extra time. But the journey so far for PSG, since that 5-0 win over Internazionale in the Champions League, they picked up a 4-0 win over Atletico Madrid. They're trying to do the double over both Madrids now. Botafogo, they lost, of course. They bounced back with a 2-0 win over the Sounders. They then picked up a 4-0 win over Inter Miami in the knockouts, and then a 2-0 win over Bayern. So again, without that 1-goal blip against Botafogo, they haven't conceded many goals, that's right. Meanwhile, Real Madrid, on the other hand, they started off with that thriller against Al Hilal. They bounced back with a 3-1 win over Pachuca, a 3-0 win over Salzburg in the groups. Then, of course, they took on some heavyweights, and probably the most difficult passage to get to this stage. They were picked up a 1-0 win over Juventus, a 3-2 win over European juggernauts Dortmund. So they've not come against some minnows in this knockout stages. They've come against some big boys. As for the bookies odds, 13-10 is your PSG, 15-8 is your Real Madrid, and 27-10 is the draw. Right before I do this, a quick look at the overall odds as we stand here. In fact, screw this. I'll tell you my prediction first. I'm actually going to back PSG. I think I think there's going to be goals in this one. I've gone 5 goals in it, 3-2 in the end, but they have been very resolute at the back, just the 1 goal conceded. But Real Madrid, under Alonso, I think they were a work in progress. Of course, they will get better over the course of the domestic season and into the Champions League. So they're going to be a threat. I think Alonso, has had no time to work with these guys, but he's done a great old job. So 3-2 in the end for me, which will set up an absolute cracking final, which will be this, Fluminense against PSG. But as we stand right here, right now, the odds in reverse order to win the trophy: Fluminense are 4th favourites, 12-1. Chelsea 11-4. The 2 heavyweights, Real Madrid, are 2nd favourites, 15-8, with PSG 11-8. That's the take on it right here, right now. Let me know your thoughts and opinions as we look forward to those semi-finals and then, of course, the final. I'll be back with previews, of course, for the matches. But until then, I'll see you soon when we return. Until then, we're done.